Good morning, runners. This is Brian from briansrunningadventures.com, and I'm launching my very first episode 1, kind of like Star Wars, episode 1 of my video podcasts. I just thought another way to kind of reach out to folks, talk a little bit about running, share a little bit of my running adventures, and just get to talk with folks out there who love running and the ultra lifestyle as much as I do. With episode number 1, kind of reminded me of when I started this whole running adventures thing way back. It's been, 19 years now. Kind of hard to believe. 19 years, 25,000 miles or more on these old bones. Wow, what an adventure it's been. Met all kinds of great people, all kinds of wonderful experiences. Have run on terrain and avenues and locations I never thought possible. Man, who would have ever known? Made me kind of start thinking about, my very first ultra. Was way back about 10 years ago. Not even really sure how I found out about this race. I think I was in a local running store, picked up a race flyer. Yeah, remember those race flyers? Took it home, stuck it in my little running bag, pulled it out a few times, looked at it, and kind of sat there and said, the Virginia 24-hour race against cancer. Wow, to think, run for 24 hours. At that point, I'm not even sure I knew anybody who had run for a full day. I kind of looked at the flyer, tucked it back in my bag, didn't think much about it, and then one day I pulled it out and said, run for 24 hours. I think I'd like to try that. Funny thing was, it was past the expiration date or the deadline for signing up for the race. I was actually on vacation in Key West, Florida, picked up the phone, called the number, talked to a gentleman named George Nelson, said, hey man, I know I'm past the date, but something's telling me I really want to try to run this event. Can I still get in? And I remember George kind of laughing and saying, well, if you got the money, I'll be happy to take it. And I kind of giggled and said, well, all right, sign me up. So there I was signed up for my very first ultra. Had no idea what I was getting into and really had no idea where this is going to lead me. But I showed up there in April. I don't even remember what the dates were, but it was late in April, maybe second or third week or so, all by myself. My little van had all kinds of food stashed in it, some extra running gear and extra shoes and socks and all that kind of stuff, and a chair. And I had a little plan in my mind. In the weeks leading up to the race, I said, there's no way I can run for 24 hours, so I'm going to develop this cool little plan where I run a little bit, I rest a little bit, I run a little bit, and I mapped it all out on this cool little Excel spreadsheet. That race is a 3.75 mile loop around Sandy Bottom Nature Park in Newport News, Virginia. And I figured easily I could run a lap, sit down for 10 to 15 minutes, get back up, run another lap, sit down for 10 to 15 minutes, combine my sitting down time for maybe 2 laps where I could sit down for a half hour and then go out and run 2 laps. I figured this is easy, man. And on Excel spreadsheet, man, it looked like a piece of cake. I actually figured out I was going to run for like 127 miles. I was like, easy on paper. Race day came, I showed up again, I was all alone, not sure what I got myself into. I think George introduced himself, and I always remember his speech prior to every race that he holds out there. He says, start out slow and then go slower. And he always tells everyone this race is won by the turtle, not necessarily the hares. And I heard it, but I don't know if it registered with me. So the gun went off and everybody started to do the first lap. And in my mind, I was going to keep up my marathon pace. At that time, I hadn't broken a 4-hour marathon yet. So, I was running, a conservative, probably, 4:30 marathon or so. Kept that up for the first lap, got in, realized I had a rest time on the book. So I took a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes of rest, and I went back and started on my second lap. And I noticed people walking. I kind of thought about this. I was like, man, we're brand new into this race. Why are these people walking? So I finished and I ran another lap, and then I took my little break, ran another lap, took another break, combined 2 breaks, took another lap out there, maybe had 10, 12, 15 miles on me. And I noticed people were walking really slow. And I thought for a minute, I'm going to win. Holy cow, I'm the only one out here running. I'm running a nice conservative marathon pace. I'm going to win. All right. Yeah, that didn't last so well. I think I held that up for maybe 20 miles or so. All of a sudden it got harder to get out of the chair. All of a sudden it got hotter, got hungrier. My feet hurt. But I kept it up, kept battling away. 20 miles turned into 30. The breaks got longer. It got harder. And guess what? I got a blister. And up to this point, I hadn't had blister 1 training for my marathons. But today, that day, my first ultra day, I got this blister on the bottom of my foot. So I went out there like a true soldier and kept on at it, and miles again clicked off, 30 miles, 35 it was or so. Got into the 40s. I was like, holy cow. Definitely my Ghana winning were out the door. I realized I was slowly falling apart. Blister got ugly, got big, got bad. Just kept on hoofing. Breaks got longer, took a nap. Got somewhere around the point where I realized I was going to get to about 50 miles. And at 52 and a half, it's somewhere around midnight, I had had enough. Sandy Bottom won. The ultras are tough. I realized that this guy had no idea what he was getting into. I called it a day. I was happy to get my 50-mile plaque from George, and I was happy to see my foot didn't fall off, even though it felt like it did. And I had had enough. I packed up my little Durango at the time, headed on home, and licked my wounds and said, holy cow, this ultra stuff is hard. I've got to learn more. I got to get smarter. And that's exactly what's happened over the past 10 years. A week or so ago, I ran my 10th Virginia 24-hour ultra run against cancer, put up 101 miles, and I'm finally feeling like maybe I got the better part of Sandy Bottom. For the past years, it's definitely kicked my tail. I've come out of there licking my wounds every year, but what a great cause. George puts on a great race. It's a great family environment. It's a great ultra environment. If you ever consider getting into the ultra world, you happen to be in the Hampton Roads area, highly recommend starting out there. Very supportive folks. Good cause. George raises around $30,000 every year for the American Cancer Society. And what a great cause. And he really is a good dude. He's my ultra mentor. Highly recommended. So that was my first ultra. So again, podcast number 1, video number 1, made me think again about my first DNF. I went a long time and finished every race. I was real proud about it. I felt like I was tough. I had figured out this whole run when you don't want to run thing. And then I signed up for my second adventure out at the Bethel Boogie 50-miler down around Ellerby, North Carolina. It's a cool little 50-mile race in the middle of June. Starts at night in the super hot, swampy southern part of North Carolina. I had run it the year before and for the first time and did well. It's a real popular race in this area. A bunch of my North Carolina running friends run in it. So the second year I really wasn't into it. We had just run the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. But all the cool kids were running boogie. So I figured, what the heck. I signed up on a whim. Race day came along. I drove my car down there. While I'm in the starting line, waiting for everything to go, high-fiving all my buddies and pals. I remember trying to talk myself into really wanting to run this race. But the gun went off, did a lap, felt good, had a good pace going. Went out on my second lap, and at mile 15 or so, it's 5 10-mile laps. So about 15 miles, I just said, I don't want to be here. And I broke. Mentally, I just broke. Body was fine. Physically, I was fine. I just mentally did not want to be out in the heat and the humidity of that night. I just got done suffering a good bit at the Grand Canyon. That was quite an effort to get in and out of that place. And I just didn't want to suffer again. All I could think about was getting home, being with my family. So I walked it in from 15 miles, did 20 miles, got through the second loop, and just said, I'm out. No coffee mug for me this year. I am so out of here. Got in my car, licked my wounds, and drove home. Now it's about a 2-hour drive, I guess, getting myself back up to our little house in North Carolina. And those 2 hours were tough. I was tired. I was beat up. But mentally, I realized I had just taken my first DNF, and boy, that just messed with my running ego. took a little while to recover from that one, but I just realized I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I shouldn't have signed up for that race. Again, I did it on a whim. I did it because everybody else was doing it. I really wasn't committed. So what I learned out of that is, especially for ultras, or any distance, if you're not committed to the race, yeah, take a week off. Don't worry about it. Don't do it just because everybody else is doing it. You really got to buy in. You deserve that. The race deserves it. If you feel like being there with your friends, go volunteer. And that's what I should have done. I wanted to be with my running community. I wanted to see all my pals. I should have volunteered and I should have helped them. But hey, that was the first DNF. Yeah, it was no fun. So again, thank you for joining me on my first video podcast. I hope you find them entertaining. I hope you find them enjoyable. I'll try to share some wisdom with you, some war stories, a little bit about what I'm doing and what I'm up to. I'd like to hear back from you. So in the comment section here on YouTube, drop me a comment. Jump over to briansrunningadventures.com, my blog. I try to blog there at least once a week, if not every 2 weeks. Just let me know what you're up to, or even drop me an email, briansrunningadventures@gmail.com. If you got a question or something like that, I don't claim to be the smartest guy on the planet, but I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. So definitely ring me up. Let's keep in touch. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. At Twitter, it's at CleeDogs. Again, you can tell I'm a Browns fan. And speaking of football, I woke up feeling dangerous this morning. My buddy Baker Mayfield, I wish we were pals. He's going to turn the franchise around. I think the Browns are going to do good things this year. I'm a little scared because it could be a drama fest where we can't even find the stadium or get out of the bus. Or it could be, and I'm not even going to say the word yet, but it starts with the play. And it's got some off in it. It could be one of those. So I'm really looking forward to this football season. I love my Browns. How I got to be a Browns fan was kind of a unique story. It was fourth grade English project. We had to write fan letters to our favorite athletes. It was a quarterback named Mike Phipps. That's going into the past, man. Mike Phipps, his claim to fame was he was the draft pick the Browns traded Paul Warfield to the Dolphins for. And he never amounted to much, but to an impressionable fourth grader, I sent a letter to the team. I got an autographed picture of Mike Phipps, a team photo, and a helmet decal. That was back in 1971, and I've been a big fan ever since. The team has been good to me, and I'm with them thick and thin. I don't buy jerseys with players' name on them anymore. My jersey that I wear to the game, it's 71, and the name on the back is Fan Since, because I've been a fan since 71. The jerseys you do see hanging in here, if you're interested at all, those are actually game-used jerseys. I got on a little stint where I was collecting game-used memorabilia. So if there's a jersey hanging here, it's actually been in the game or been issued by the team to the players. A couple other videos, maybe I'll share some stuff with you. I got game balls, coins that were tossed for the kickoff, helmets, all kinds of neat little Brown stuff. But you're not here to talk about Browns. You're here to talk about running. Some great races out there. If I was to recommend one race to somebody, especially in our area, 10K wise, hey, check out the Monument Avenue 10K in Richmond, Virginia. Marathon wise, Shamrock's an awesome race down in the Virginia Beach area. Richmond Marathon's pretty cool. City of Oaks is awesome. I've run that a few times. Scored a sub 4 there, and that's a pretty hilly course, so it'll kick your tail. Ultra World, Umstead 100. Either for your first ultra, because you can drop down to the 50-mile option, or if you're going for your first 100, definitely check out the Umstead 100. Very well supported. I'm not going to say it's an easy course to run. It's got a little bit of challenge to it. It's got about 1,000 foot of elevation a lap, 8 laps of 12.5 miles, bridle trails, fairly wide, but you do have some climbing in there. But I almost think the climbing helps you because it kind of forces you to kind of throttle back on the speed. And I really believe that's good for your first 100. Great race, Umstead 100. Check it out. Running stores wise, man, if you're in the Wake Forest area, run and try Outfitters. These guys are great. They're not just a retail store that wants to take your money. They want to see you reach your goals, and they want to give you the right equipment to get there. Richmond, I spent a lot of time in Richmond, Virginia. Lucky Foot, Great guys up there. Definitely know the running business. If you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, look them up. If you're in the Newport News area, it's another area I kind of hang out to. Point 2, look them up. Go see Ruthie. She's a blast, man. She's on my 24-hour team, and so is Andrea. Andrea is actually the captain now. She's taking it over from me. Very hardcore runners, very funny gals. I don't know why they let this old dude hang out with them, but I'm sure glad they did. We have a great time. What else am I up to? I'm working on my third book. I'm not going to keep it kind of secret right now, but it's definitely a plot twister. It's a fictional story again. My goal in writing is to entertain runners as well as entertain non-runners and kind of expose the running world to them. Not only the drama and emotions that we go through during a race, but also some of the iconic race platforms that are out there. I like to tell the story behind the races as well as the main characters in the book. So this third book's going to feature one of the most iconic races out there. Again, I'm keeping it undercover until I'm ready for my reveal. But it's in the second stages of proofreading. It's got a cool little plot twist to it. And so far feedback is, Brian, you did it again. I laughed, I cried some more, and I cheered the runner on. And that's hopefully what you get out of my books when you read them. First book I put out was Running to Leadville. Again, Leadville's a special part for me. I fell in love with the race from afar. It's kind of like that girl you see from across the room and she just kind of sparks your interest. Well, that little race, the Leadville Trail 100, about 5 years ago, sparked my interest. I did all kinds of research on the race, been out there, wrote this fictional story about a runner who overcomes a lot of life's adversities, and then the climatic stage is the Leadville Trail 100. But again, I like to tell the story behind the race as well, and I believe I did a good job. I mean, in the middle of the race last year in August, as I'm coming down Hope Pass, someone in the pack's yelling, "Brian, is that you? Brian, I loved your book." And here I am in the middle of the Leadville Trail 100, and someone's telling me they loved my book. Took my breath away. Well, that and 12,000 feet took my breath away. But that made me feel real good. Again, Running to Leadville, available on Amazon. Look it up if you would. And I appreciate your support. I'm not Stephen King. I'm not J.K. Rowling. I'm a running guy that can write a story a little bit. You're going to find some grammar that may be wrong. You're going to find some sentence structure that's not perfect. But it's the story that'll grab you. Again, I appreciate your support out there. So on the blog, what's happening on the blog? Latest post is the 5 stages of signing up for a race. And I think we've all been there. If you've ever signed up for a race or two, you've probably been in one of those 5 stages where it was the best decision you've ever made to sign up for that race, or it was, crap, now I got to go run the thing. It's just a humorous look at the 5 stages of signing up for a race. Again, I've been at every one of those stages, plus a few, hiding the credit cards from the wife, trying to figure out how I'm going to get the time off from work, and just trying to find more races. The internet has made it so easy to sign up for races nowadays. With a click of a mouse, you can be running any one of these iconic races out there, and it's great, but it's also a curse. So again, I'd like to thank you much for checking in on the blog. Again, briansrunningadventures.com.